This kid's fire.
Brother, what's that? What's that, brother? What's that? What's that, brother? Brother, what's that, brother? What's that? What's that, brother? Brother, brother, what's that? What's that, brother? What's that? What's that, brother? Brother, what's that, brother? What's that? What's that, brother? Brother,
Yes, guys, welcome back to another stream, man. I just feel like I'm 24 hours streaming at the moment. It's popping off, but it's Manchester City versus the Premier League. There's loads of stuff popping off, so we've got loads of stuff to talk about. Before we do, let's have a look who we've got in the building today. We've got Linny, good to see you, mate. Good to see Nax, Godfrey, Horton, Cade. We got Palmer, Mad Dog, Mansour's in here. Belly's in the building as well. We've got MCFR. Rachel's also joined us as well. Good to see you guys. Hopefully you smash the like. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well if you guys are new. Some of you guys might know Pete. He's been on the channel before, but if not, Pete's a big Newcastle fan. Loaded Mag is his channel. And of course, he's in our side. Well, I don't know if you're in our side. Your club apparently is on our side, bro. But yeah, I mean, before we get into like the whole details, what just from a sort of general point of view, what have you made of that the last 24 hours, mate? Because they keep on saying it is unprecedented.
I'm not gonna lie. I was excited when I saw it because I've always had a being in. I think most Newcastle fans would admit, with the way in which our takeover went on, and for how long it went on for, we've had a bit of a bee in our bonnet with the Premier League. So for me, any reason to take down the Premier League for the 18 months that they caused us in denying the takeover, I'm all for it. So when I saw it come through, I was excited by it because a lot of Newcastle fans will tell you we've been, and I'm sure we'll get into this. We've been talking about anti-competitive for a long time, for a good number of years now. And so this is something from a Newcastle point of view and from my point of view that we've seen ourselves. So we were happy to see that you were fighting the cause. And this is why we said straight away, brother in arms. We're here. If I could shake your hand, I'd be there right now to say, look, bring the W home. That's what we're talking about right now. Bring the W home, Man City.
Yeah, but mate, just off air before we started, then you was telling us about how Newcastle, and obviously we kind of know about it, but you'll obviously know more about it being a Newcastle fan, how effectively like Newcastle had to fight to get their deal across the line anyway. Now, of course, you know, you've got, are you allowed to spend? And I know there's constant debate about Newcastle. Have they got to spend? Can they spend money? Do they have to sell players? Like you got Bruno and Isak, two amazing players. Do you have to sell them? And obviously, this is the position that we're in. Now, this isn't exactly what Manchester City are fighting with this case. Manchester City are fighting just this related transaction fair market value aspect of it. We're not trying to take on the whole FFP, but it's all related, I suppose, because it's all part of the same thing. So why don't you, before we get into the sort of City thing, why don't you just give us a little bit of a backstory to sort of the Newcastle situation and why Newcastle are backing Manchester City in this?
Well, yeah, it's like our takeover was meant to have gone through around the May, sort of June time, 2020, around the lockdown time. So that was when it was all meant to have kind of gone ahead. But there was constant barriers there and pushback. And eventually, our owners at that point, they pulled out of the deal. And it absolutely crushed Newcastle fans because we needed it. You will know, watching from afar, what Mike Ashley was doing to the club. Like the club was rotting. We were getting closer and closer to relegation. We needed that takeover to give us a new lease of life. And we went into a legal battle for around 18 months to try and get this over the line. And we were citing anti-competitive action. There was lots of talk about the fact that they didn't want Saudi anywhere near the Premier League. The rumoured to be clubs, i.e. the likes of Spurs, the likes of Man United, the likes of Liverpool, were some of the big hitters that were trying to stop this deal coming through. And we went to arbitration ourselves not long before the takeover happened. We were going through the process, and it was going to go through the courts to the point where certain elements and evidence that Newcastle said that they had would come to light, and the Premier League didn't want it. And then all of a sudden, early October, the takeover out of nothing. Nobody expected it. There was no pre-warning. All of a sudden, the takeover was done. Now, they cited a lot of Middle Eastern stuff around piracy and all the rest of it. But there's lots that have argued that wasn't part of the conversation, although that was what was thrown into the media about that. But so Newcastle United have had, like I say, a being up on it. It didn't stop there, LB. Is that as soon as that takeover went through, very, very quickly after that, all of a sudden, there was a Premier League meeting where what we're going to talk about now is that, that associated party transaction, although it was official in February year, it actually started back late 2021. I think it was around the end of November, early December. That first after it happened, they had a meeting and agreed associated party limited it, and it was there ultimately.
Yeah, one sec, bro. Is that me or is that me or you lagging out? Wait a sec. Is that me or is that chat? Am I lagging or is it Pete that's lagging? What's that, bro? One of us is lagging. Who's lagging there, chat? Is it Pete or is it me? It's Pete. Pete, you're lagging, bro. I don't know whether you need to restart something. Yeah. Let me remove him. He can rejoin. He can rejoin. So whilst he's rejoining, let me just bring this up. So basically, this has come from a law magazine, right? This has come from a law magazine. Breaking news come out earlier on, literally about, in fact, an hour ago. Newcastle, Chelsea, and Everton tipped to back Manchester City in the Premier League clash. Now we know already that we've got one friend because the article that was released yesterday in the Times said there's one club at least that's backing Manchester City. Now it looks like we've got three friends. Chelsea, you can kind of understand Chelsea as well because essentially Chelsea want to spend money. They're probably in the same situation. Everton's an interesting one. Are Everton just trying to stick it to am I missing something here, chat? I might need your help on this one. Am I missing something with Everton? Are they just trying to stick it to the Premier League? Clearly, they are very, very, very unhappy with the Premier League because obviously they got deducted points, didn't they? So they really don't like the Premier League. Are they looking at this challenge from Manchester City and going, yes, this is actually a legit challenge for Manchester City. We back it. Or are they looking at it going, we're not really that fussed what happens, but we don't like the Premier League, therefore we're gonna back it because you screwed us. The Premier League and Everton have serious issues. And this comes back to what I was saying yesterday and this morning. The whole thing is just a complete and utter mess. It's turned into this civil war. And by the way, if anyone thought that this was this wasn't the way it was going to. This was always how it was going to end up, guys. As soon as they brought in financial regulations, this was how it was always going to end up. Sorry, Pete, you cut out, bro. You cut out, but it looks like it's fine.
I'm not sure. I think my internet's or Wi-Fi's playing up a little bit. If it goes again, let me know.
We'll do.
I'll try to figure it out. I'm not sure where I cut off, but I was just talking about the Newcastle point of view. So, like, once the takeover had happened, at that point, quick meeting from the Premier League. All of a sudden, the associated party rules were in place, and that's what spiraled into the official confirmation in February. So it was already in play. They were already trying to stop Newcastle's rise before we'd even literally got feet through the door. The new owners were before we'd even able to access our transfer window. And this is part of our frustrations. And it has, I think, been confirmed. I think you put it up on the screen that we're one of a couple of other clubs involved in it as well that are backing Man City. And I'm not surprised whatsoever.
Yeah, these are the clubs, Pete. So it's you, Newcastle, Chelsea, and Everton. Now, the Chelsea one I can kind of get as well. I did sort of theorize on that one. But Everton, am I missing something here, Pete? Why would Everton be backing this particular rule? Are they looking at it going, no, actually, City are just right. We do think it's unlawful. Or are they, because they really don't like the Premier League after what happened to them? Are they just trying to stick it to the Premier League? And if so, does that just show us the sorry state of affairs at the state of this league where we just got, it's just a mess, isn't it?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both, LB, if I'm honest with you, because with Everton, of course, like you just said, they've been screwed over with the Premier League, points deductions, all the rest of it. I read somewhere today that, that Burnley are trying to get 50 million out of them because they were proven to be broken the law, which is why they got the points deduction. And effectively, that's what put Burnley down originally. They're wanting 50 million plus from them. So they're in the mud right now in terms of financial situation. But on top of that, before their financial downfall, they were actually trying to rise as a club. They were doing these associated party rules. They were putting all these things in place, and they want their next owner to be able to push them up there because they see themselves as a team that should be doing what Newcastle and Aston Villa are doing.
So sorry. So you're saying because they're looking to sell, they need to make the league more attractive from a new investor, and to do that, you need to try and get rid of this rule because otherwise, a new investor could come in and say, "Well, I can come in, I can buy the club, and I can get all these sponsorship deals in for all these people that we know." However, it's going to get chopped because it's going to get done by this Premier League rule. So, do you think that's why they're doing it then? Because they're trying to make the club more attractive to a potential buyer.
100%. Like you look at some of the big ownerships now. You look at Man City and Newcastle, for example, as those examples, particularly from the Middle East. I'd be shocked if another Middle East, like big time Middle East potential owner would even consider coming to the Premier League. Looking at what's happening with Man City, look at what's happening with Newcastle and how they're trying to stunt Newcastle United's rise. They're looking at it thinking, well, there's not really an in there. PIF continued with it because Amanda Staveley was backing it and saying, this is in our best interest. We go forward. We're going to have a Premier League team, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. But if it was up to PIF, they probably would have given it up way before the 18 months had passed before the takeover eventually went through. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, like there won't be a lot of big hitters that are looking at Premier League clubs right now. There'll be a lot of owners potentially over in America that will come over and see it as a way of churning through money, guaranteed profit over and over again. But in terms of really trying to push them forward, and that's where Everton want to be. Everton don't want to be languishing mid-table with a steady ownership. Everton want to be going big time. They want to be pushing it with the Villas. Villa have got a lot of money. Newcastle have got crazy amounts of money. Man City and so on. And equally, this is why it wants to be stopped. And this is why I'm not surprised the likes of Tottenham, Man United, Liverpool, and there'll be a few others. I'm not surprised why they're not backing it. It's because they look at us. You already are the big threat because you're the big hitters, 4 in a row, potentially could go 5 next year. And Newcastle United, it will happen eventually. We will get our rise, but it's a lot slower than everyone anticipated because of these types of things that are coming in. And Newcastle United are going to stand with you because if you guys win, if you win that arbitration, right, and that rule gets thrown out, not only does it help you in what you want to do, because you've been stung recently. Yeah, I think you've had sponsorships that have been turned down.
Well, apparently that's why they're claiming the damages. City is suing the Premier League and claiming damages because apparently they reckon, and obviously we don't know the full details, but it's being speculated that there has been a deal that's broken down because of this new rule. Have you heard what they actually have to do, bro? You know how mad this is? I was listening to Stefan today on TalkSport. You know the new rule? What it does. This is all credit to Stefan. He was the one who found it in the documents. If I'm deemed a related party, yeah. So say I want to sponsor Newcastle, yeah, I'm a related party.
Yeah.
I'm not Newcastle. I'm a different company. I want to sponsor Newcastle. As a director of that different company, I have to basically set out a rationale to the Premier League as to why I think I think that's worth the money. How mad is that? How mad is it that the Premier League have the right to tell another company, not even in the Premier League, if you want to spend your money, you have to tell us why you think that's good value. How crazy is that, bro? I think it's absolutely wild. Yeah, but I say something like that, and then you'll get all these mutants, right, who go like, "Oh, you're just so biased." I'm not literally biased. I've literally said from day one, I have no idea if City are innocent. I have no idea if City are guilty. I don't know. I'm just gonna wait. I'm just literally gonna wait. Yeah, but to say honestly that's not wild that the Premier League can have jurisdiction to say to another company that's not even in a football club, you have to tell us why you think it's good money to sponsor it. I just think that, but as my personal opinion, I just think that's bizarre that the Premier League has that right to say that. I just don't think it should.
Mate, it's an absolute joke. It's an absolute joke. The fact that they can tell somebody that what they're willing to put into a club is not market value, that actually or it's considered too much. Who are you to say? If they value that at that price and they're willing to put that money into that club, who are the Premier League to say that that's not allowed? And then I heard on Sky Sports today that they were talking about the fact that it's not considered fair. Well, hold on a second. If it's not considered fair, then just have everybody on the same amount of money, equal, all year round. But then what you find is the Man United and Liverpools will start crying. Oh, but we're the bigger club. We deserve this money. We've got the bigger fan base, blah, blah, blah. Well, then that's not fair because everyone else isn't the same. So if you're gonna spark off what's fair and what's not, then have everybody else the same. But they won't do that. And the problem is it's because those clubs at the top that have had years and years and years of success, they want to stay at the top and continue that success. And they hate the fact that other teams are pushing and want to be the best they can possibly be. I never had an issue even before Newcastle takeover. I never had an issue with Man City doing what they were doing and going out and spending and buying the players that you were and all the rest of it. I never had an issue back in 2003 with Chelsea. Roman Abramovich. I never had an issue with that. I thought it was great for football. Another team coming up and testing the top teams and saying to the top teams, right, if you want to be at the top, then you're going to have to produce a team that's going to be at the top because we're coming for you. Man City did exactly the same. The fact that they're now trying to stop Newcastle coming up with Man City and Man United and Liverpool to be competitive like that. The fact that it inadvertently stops the likes of Villa. Because now you look at what's happened with Villa over the last 24 hours. Arguably one of their best players, Douglas Luiz, is now having to be sacrificed because they don't have the money to put down in order to strengthen their team.
Yeah, but Pete, it's sustainable now. It's sustainable. That's the buzzword. And what they'll do is they con people, man, because people can't think for themselves. They just go along with it. They use this word sustain. It's all about sustainability. I told you this morning. I'll tell you again. Sustainability is the best word for half of these owners because half of these owners don't want to win. All they're bothered about is the pound note. They want the revenues. They want the profits. And if the league is sustainable, that means they're going to be consistently getting in the top tables in a Champions League up there because teams can't compete. That means Champions League money. That means revenue. That means profit. That's what the owners That's what the owners want. You've got some owners in this league that actually want to win, that actually want to spend money. They're not bothered about taking a dividend out the football club, aka Glazers at Man United. They want to put the money in because they want to win and they want to build something. Yeah. They're not bothered about sustainable because they're not asked about sustainable because they don't want the dividend. They just want to build the club and have success. That's what this whole thing is about, mate. And like, you're spot on. They're trying to stop Newcastle from rising, bro, because City are already there, right? They've tried it. They tried the FFP thing. That didn't work. So now this is effectively the last chance saloon with City in it to kick us out the league if they beat us on this 1-1-5. Because City are not going anywhere anytime soon. Even when Pep leaves, we won't be as dominant without Pep, obviously, but like we'll still be top 4, top 5 teams. Newcastle will be up there, and now Arsenal are there. That only leaves one spot in the Champions League. Now, what else have they managed to do? They managed to get this fucking 5th place thing in where if you finish 5th and the coefficients match, then you get it. It's all about how can we try and get that Champions League revenue, because that Champions League revenue is massive for football clubs. So what they'll do is first, they'll try and stop other clubs breaking into the top 4. Oh, that's not really working. I tell you what, we'll go to UEFA, moan at UEFA, threaten a Super League, and eventually make them give us a potential 5th spot in the Champions League. It's all about, just use your brain, listen to it, read between the lines, look at what's going on, and you'll clearly see. And like I say, with Newcastle, with Aston Villa, it's a disgrace that these clubs potentially might have to sell players to meet some stupid rule when they're fine. They're absolutely fine. You know, there's no. I've got to say, if Bruno ends up getting sold not because he wants to leave, because of a financial pressure put on the football club, when you've got the richest owners in world football, for me, that is just absolutely ridiculous.
This is why we're in support of Man City. This is why we hope Man City get the W in arbitration, because you've got Newcastle United that are trying to build and be the best club that we could possibly be. 20 years ago, we were in the Champions League, fighting in the Champions League on a regular. Mike Ashley saw to that, and we had 15 years of absolute rubbish. We've got an owner that, two things, has allowed this club to have zero debt, no debt, nothing owing whatsoever. We're in a great financial position. And secondly, an owner, and you all the Man City fans in the chat and ULB will testify to this. We've got an owner that isn't just investing in the club, but is investing in the region. The city is benefiting from it. There's more jobs available. There's more infrastructure that's coming in. We've got the stack that's being built at the moment, like the one just not far away from Wembley. Okay, we're building another one in Newcastle, which is going to create more jobs, more opportunities.
And I'll tell you, you've been sports washed.
Yeah, and it's building just like what Man City did with the training facilities, with the, I think it's the women's stadium that's just round the corner from the Etihad. What you've done outside the Etihad, everything that you've built, the infrastructure of the club, and what that's created for the region.
Apparently, we've all been sports washed. Apparently, I am now the proud, leader of the Abu Dhabi, UK relationship here. You know what I mean? Abu Dhabi. That's what it is. You'll be the same with Saudi Arabia soon. Yeah, I mean that's what they take us off for mugs. And by the way, they treat us like somewhat on the bottom of the shoe. Yeah, thinking like we can't think for ourselves, but I'll think about what I want to think about, bro. Yeah, when it comes to anything else, I'll decide what I think. Yeah, you don't need to tell me what I need to think about, bro, when it comes to all that kind of stuff. I can think for myself, mate, yeah? You don't tell us what we think. And look at this, mate. Look at this. Look how pathetic. Look how pathetic these clubs are. Look how pathetic. Look at this, Pete. Senior Premier League club sources are citing Man City's legal claim as one factor in their failure to agree on a deal to the financial future of the 72 clubs in the 3 divisions below the Premier League. So now this is a hit piece, yeah? See what's happening here is, yeah, we are now basically just being crushed by everyone because everyone is just attacking us. It's now our fault, Pete. It's now Manchester City's fault that the agreement, yeah, to secure this package for the 72 teams in the English Football League is all Manchester City's fault. Just because we're challenging something that we're claiming isn't lawful. How wild is this? We have an opinion.
You know what it is? The narrative's already been set. the Premier League must win for English football. It has to
Oh,
win the arbitration
look
for
at this one.
for English
Look at
football.
this one from Miguel Delaney. Manchester City's case against the Premier League is an assault. Is an assault on the fabric of football. Oh my god!
And then people wonder. There was people wondering, oh, who's leaked this news? Who's leaked this news? And then you see these articles coming out. You see all the considered top journalists all using these types of words and phrases, and you think, you know exactly who's leaked this, because they needed to set the narrative straight right from the beginning. They needed to set the narrative that it's the Premier League must win for the benefit of football, and that Man City are denying the other 72 clubs of what's rightfully theirs. Not escaping the fact that for God knows how long they've been denying them the money that they should have got, but all of a sudden now it's Man City's fault.
It's all our
And
fault.
it should have been done months ago. Maybe
Yeah. By
even
the way, this legal challenge only started in February, March. So what about the years prior that you've been negotiating this deal? Because I'm pretty sure this deal has been in the works for a long time. So, you had a deal agreed in February, did you? Is that what you say? Oh, we had a deal agreed, and then City dropped this, and now it's all charters. By the way, how fragile are the finances in this league, where one legal challenge can completely derail a financial structure set out for 72 other clubs? Are we serious? Were we that close to agreeing a financial package is a league to the 72 clubs, where if one legal challenge was successful against the league, the whole thing would just blow up? And it's just like, oh, sorry, 72 clubs in the AFL, we've got something wrong, so we've had to settle a legal bill. None of you are getting anything. Like, come on, man, it's absolutely pathetic. And then obviously that just come out there, by the way, was that's just even more embarrassment. An assault on the league. It's quite simple. Manchester City feel that this rule is unlawful in English law. Simple. In the next 2 weeks, we'll find out if City are right or if City are wrong. If City are wrong, no problems. Everyone gets their way. Everyone's happy because City are wrong, and we continue as we are. City have tried the best. They thought it wasn't. They didn't think it was lawful. Proved that it is. If Manchester City are proved right, and this rule that's in the rule book isn't lawful, then everyone should be also happy with that, because that means there was a rule in the rule book that wasn't lawful in English law, and then we should all be removing it because it's not lawful. And there'll be people out there justifying it and saying, no, we should keep it, even though it's not lawful. So it's absolutely wild, the state of affairs that we've got ourselves into. And it's just ridiculous, mate.
It's just mad how brainwashed certain clubs are, and how the narrative has been pushed to these clubs and these fans, and they just openly and believe every word that's being said. The Premier League has been ran absolutely disgracefully for years now, way before our fight for the takeover, way before what's been happening recently, like way before Associated Party. The Premier League's been ran shockingly. Richard Masters has done an awful job of running the Premier League, and the Premier League is on its knees right now, and they are in a really weak position as a Premier League, regardless of what happens in the arbitration, regardless of what happens in November. They are in a really weak position, and this is why big changes need to happen in the Premier League. And there's no better way of sparking those changes than Man City winning this arbitration and really setting about change, because change needs to happen. They need to stop allowing these top teams to get away with it. We talked about the 72 clubs that have been denied their rightful payment. Why have they been denied? Because the likes of Man United and Arsenal refused to pay it. They didn't want to pay it. That's why. And they're just bending over for these top teams, right? Because they've got influence on the Premier League. And let's not forget, they've got influence in the media as well, which is why you're getting articles like that today. Man United have got direct links with Sky, and I think and Liverpool have as well. And across all the media outlets, most of them are attached themselves to either Man U, Liverpool, or Arsenal anyway. So it's all interlinked. It's all interlinked, and it's about keeping that power established at the top, and they don't want anyone else there. And this is why it needs to be fought, to get a level playing field, allowing anyone to invest into a club, sponsorships or not, and allowing that club that if they want to really go for it, and providing they've got something behind them that protects the club in any difficult situation and to keep the club afloat if it does go wrong, but allowing the club, if they want to go for it, they can go for it. And if they've got the money behind them to back them, why not? Why not go for it? Like this is the whole point. You go back in all the years. This is the crazy thing about it, LB, and this is what annoys me. You go back even before my time, even before your time. You had different winners of the Premier League. You had different years where certain teams were up there challenging, and they might have dropped off, but there was another team up there, and you had different challenges at different times. When have we ever had the sustained top six just constantly be there for like a 20-year period and there'd be no one actually challenging? It's the whole point of football. We love football because we love the thought of one day potentially our club being able to challenge, not consistently, but have a moment where they challenge and a dream to win something. Every club should have that. And
you know what's bad though, Pete, is when I was growing up as a kid, it was known as the top four. Right, and it was basically the same top four in the Champions League places, the top four every year, every season. United, Liverpool, Chelsea, and Arsenal. Every year, that was it was known. It wasn't the big six. So for the younger people watching, maybe if you're under sort of 20, you might not know this, but it wasn't the big six. There was never a big six when I was growing up. Yeah, it was the top four, and not one person ever moaned about it. Not that I know about. Not one person ever sat there and went, "This is a bit unfair how the top four clubs are just constantly in the top four." And maybe once every couple of years, someone would, break in. I think Everton might have broke in once, or Spurs a couple of times. But effectively, it was known as the top four. And no one ever said, "This is boring, having the same four teams in there." No one ever said anything about the lack of competitiveness. No one ever said, well, the same four teams are getting the Champions League money. And by the way, there was no FFP at this time as well.
Yeah,
there was no FFP at this time, guys. So they was getting the Champions League money every year, which meant they could spend money to stay in those spots, and then they just stayed. It was just a revolving cycle, and no one ever said it was boring. Never, I heard those words. No one ever moaned about the competitiveness of the league. All of a sudden, City come around. Yeah, Newcastle are here, Villa are here. By the way, I just think that the year that we just had in the Premier League, I think that's one of the most exciting seasons we've had in a long time. We had a 3-horse title race for a long time. We had Aston Villa finishing in the top 4. Yeah. We had Chelsea finally look like they're half decent. Newcastle obviously screwed by your injuries halfway through the season, but there's no doubt in my mind you'll be back in the top 5, top 6 next season easily. Like, what is this? And it's interesting, the people who always say it's boring or anti-competitive, are usually like the United fans or stuff like that. You've how many Aston Villa fans said the league was uncompetitive this year? How many Aston Villa fans said the league was boring? How many Newcastle fans last year when you got top 4 said it was anti-competitive or boring?
And that's what I was going to add. I would say the last 2 years have been exciting because let's not forget, there was a straight shootout for European football between Brighton and Villa. Like Brighton never played European football. Like there was a straight shootout for Europa League football, and one of them ended up getting sort of Conference League. And it was Chelsea that missed that. It was Liverpool that Errol was dead set he was going to beat us for Champions League football last season, and they didn't. And it was nice. It was different. It was different. Okay, Man City won the league, deserved to win the league, but Arsenal came from nowhere to challenge him genuinely for the title. Like out of nowhere. That last season was massively exciting. This season again.
Pete, how did they do it? How did Arsenal challenge? They didn't do it off the whim. They spent money.
Yeah.
That's what you have to do now. That's what you've always had to do. You've always had to spend money. People think it's this new thing that no one ever used to spend money. You've always had to spend money. Look how much money Ferguson spent. Look how much money Jose Mourinho spent when he was at Chelsea the first time. Look how much money City spent when we first got bought. Yeah, look how much money Arsenal spent. They spent 700 million quid. Look how much money Klopp spent. It's ridiculous to think that you don't have to spend money and that, before City came along, before Newcastle came along, no one ever spent money. It's an absolute lie. You've always had to spend money. Maybe now because inflation has impacted the transfer fees, it appears that we're spending more money than ever. And that might be true to a certain degree. But we've always spent money.
Always, and it will continue to be, like you said, the inflation of the transfer fee, 100%. But what there is now, what these clubs don't like, there's options. It's not all Man United and Liverpool now. Man City are more than a viable option. Everyone wants to go and play for Man City. People actually want to go and play for Arsenal now with the rise that they've had. People actually want to go and play for Newcastle United. I've got Arsenal fans that are crying, absolutely crying for the last 3-4 weeks. Isak, he needs to leave. He needs to go to Newcastle. Well, he's just announced today in an interview. He ain't going anywhere. He's happy. Yep. He is happy at Newcastle. He's enjoying his football and he wants to stay. And Arsenal fans are crying about it. Hold on. Well, you're not the be-all and end-all. You're a great team. You've had a great season. You just missed out on potentially winning the league. But that's not the be-all and end-all. Other teams can encourage and want other players, and other players will want to go to other teams. Like, it's not just dead set anymore. Things have changed. Players are going to want to go and play for Villa. Other players are going to want to go and play for Chelsea. Like, it's so far spread now. And I said it on 12 Man before, and I say it again. Like, it is the most competitive league in the Premier League. This is not like any other league or any other season when you've got 8 or 9 teams that genuinely could pick a fight to get in the top 6, top 4, top 5 Champions League, whatever you call it.
Easy.
But this is what they don't want. And this is what
and then what they try and do, and then what they want to try and do, because if you just say it like you just said it then, Dave, and that's true, that it is competitive. They don't like that. So then what they try and do, they try and spin it, and they try and spin it some other way by saying it's boring how Manchester City win the league, or the league's boring. The league's not boring. There are legitimately 8 teams that could finish in the top 4 next year.
Yeah.
Legitimately 8 teams. Chelsea could finish in the top 4 next year. Yeah. I don't think anyone would be sat here going, that's a mad shock if Chelsea finish in the top 4 next year. Newcastle, Villa, obviously Liverpool, City, and Arsenal are all up there as well. There's probably a couple of other. United obviously could potentially do it. Like this, it's so competitive, and it's wild how they are literally sitting here at a time when the league is thriving, and it's just tearing itself apart. It really, really is. Listen, I want to just hit these couple of super chats actually before we continue. Big up to Tinsay says City did not commit fraudulent things, but I have had a funny feeling about inflating sponsorship. But again, why is that a crime to invest in yourself? Well, obviously they don't want you to invest in yourself. That's what they're saying. Now, why that is, people have their own opinions. Me and Pete have set out our views on it. But listen, that's the league, isn't it? What can you do? We can't take the whole thing down. He also says everyone twerking, but City just 2-0 down versus Villa. What does that mean? Everyone twerking, but City just 2-0 down. I don't know what that means. Tinsay, what do you mean by that, bro? Metal Rock says very quiet about the standard chartered stuff. Yeah, that is kind of wild. Imagine if that was City, bro. Imagine if we had a sponsor that was like alleged to have encouraged terrorism or whatever it was. That was wild.
Honestly, but this goes back to my point where some of these top clubs have links within the media. So we used to go absolutely mad as Newcastle fans when the takeover stuff was going on, and we were hearing some of the details from journalists that were writing about this and the ins and outs of why this takeover wasn't happening. And we weren't seeing none of it on Sky, none of it reported on TV. And we were going, hold on, this is massive. This is massive news that people need to hear. And this is why I'm not surprised that so many fans of other clubs don't really know the ins and outs of what happened with the Newcastle takeover. And when they do, they go, what? Did that actually happen? It's like, yeah, it did. And this is the same for that. When they want to ramp up the news and they want everybody to know, they'll do it. When they don't want anybody to know, because who does Standard Charter sponsor? Who do they sponsor? Liverpool. And so therefore, Liverpool are connected to Sky. Sky are going to keep that as low as possible because they're going to want to keep Liverpool in a good light. It's as simple as that. And they will pick and choose where their news comes from. As much as I know credible people that come on our channel from Sky, great people, okay? But the top brass, they will decide what they want in the news and what they don't. It's as simple as that.
Nah, facts, bro. Matthew says Arsenal bribed their way into the first division. Well, when you speak about stuff that happened historically, apparently it doesn't matter. So it's like, well, how far are you going back then? Because ours ended in 2018. So we'll go back to 2018, but we can't go back longer. Listen, obviously it's extreme. You can't go back to 1900 or whatever, right? But like, there is something to be said about that. LB says United fans live off their history. They are the most entitled bunch, led by that clown Goldbridge, and United have always had the media on their side. Oh yeah, facts, bro. I mean, look at the way Gary Neville acts, man. He's bad with it. He's bad with it. You know, him on that overlap show. Yeah, you listen to the way he speaks about the league. Oh, it's bad. It's bad. It's boring. You know, he spoke about it a couple of times. I remember Ian Wright and that talking about it. I was just like, you guys are waffling so hard. Well, that overlap now is basically just a United channel, isn't it? Let's be honest. I mean, look at the guests that they get on. It's a United player every week, pretty much. So, you know, that is...
You only have to look at the guests on there to know exactly what it's all about. It's just an old boys catch up, isn't it?
Exactly. Again, they'll try and pass it off as this, like, oh, we're for the fans. You know, I bet that's what they over... Well, what's their slogan? The overlap. I bet it's like for the fans or something like that, even though it's basically just like just a United thing these days. It's kind of wild.
In the last couple, they've binned off Jill, bless her, and brought Wayne Rooney on. They've binned her off and got Wayne Rooney on now just because he's one of the boys.
No, it's honestly ridiculous. This is another thing actually that needs to be talked about, guys. Listen, look at this. Yeah. Big up Stefan again. I wonder how many other Premier League arbitration cases are in process where someone hasn't breached a confidentiality clause. Now, if you don't know what this means, guys, basically any Premier League club has the right to bring a problem to the Premier League and it to go to arbitration. It's in the rule book. So don't disagree with me. It's in the rule book, right? Anyone can come to the Premier League. If you think a rule's not right, you can bring it up for arbitration. The rules state that it should stay confidential. Right? City have brought this to the Premier League and say, we don't think this is right. It should stay confidential according to the rules. It's been leaked. It's not been leaked by Manchester City. I can put it out there, right? What else got leaked? When it went to CAS, yeah? What got leaked then? That got leaked and CAS ordered UEFA to investigate who leaked it. It went to their ethics board. Why is it that every time we do something, someone's leaking it? In a confidential process. Imagine if we was leaking stuff. Imagine Manchester City were leaking stuff throughout this 115. Imagine the backlash that we'd get from that. Imagine if we leaked stuff in the CAS charges. Imagine the backlash we'd get from that. But when it's someone else, it's just like, it's fine, bro. So this is another thing that's getting in. And by the way, I'll say one other point, yeah. I think that City are in this sort of like dangerous position, and I don't mean dangerous position in terms of how it's affected us. I mean, in terms of like, they've backed us into a corner. I said it this morning, I'll say it again. I've seen someone tweet, City are fast becoming the most hated club in the country. We're already the most hated club in the country. When your stocks and your PR is on the floor, you've got no PR to save. It's done. Hence why City have probably done this, sent this legal arbitration in. Because they knew that this was probably going to get leaked, as wrong as that is. They probably knew this was always going to happen. They knew the backlash that they'd get. They're not idiots, yeah? But because they've got nothing else to lose, it's probably why City have done it and not Newcastle. It's like, well, Newcastle are not going to do it because, you know, their PR's fine. No one's really moaning about them too much right now until you start spending money in a few years and then they'll start moaning about you big time. Oh, City will do it because our PR's already on the floor.
Well, this is what I was going to add in is that for us, for Newcastle fans, and I've been talking about this with a load of boys and a few of us as well, that this is the dream scenario for Newcastle. Because for our ownership, this is the kind of thing that we would have wanted to take to arbitration. But we're still in our infancy with our takeover. We didn't want to rock the boat. And this is why I genuinely believe we haven't fronted it up. I would be shocked if we haven't assisted you with your arbitration and maybe supported with evidence and things from our perspective. But I'm not surprised that we're not fronting it up. And the reason being is that, like I said, it took us 18 months to get this takeover signed and sealed. And we're in a position right now where we almost have to just toe the line. 3, 4 years, 5 years down the line, I think it will be a different story. When we've built to where we want to get to, I think it would be a different story. And I think we would have that strength to go, hold on, yeah, we're not having that, and we'd fight it. But you are way down the line in terms of your takeover. You've won titles. You're at the top of the tree, and you're in a different position.
Look at the state of this, Pete.
This is the thing. How is that Man City's fault? Has put a 900 million deal to help fund the. How is this created 900 million?
Oh, it's insane, isn't it? It's wild how like they can just put stuff out here like this. And again, I say if this is okay, so this is clearly BS. But if this is true, yeah, then how what's the word? Flimsy was that deal in the first place? If one single legal challenge can bring down a £900 million deal, how bad was that deal structured in the first place?
Exactly.
We shouldn't have a deal structured where if one legal challenge succeeds, then the whole thing's done. What? It's ridiculous, bro.
The Premier League must be absolutely skint if they can't front up that deal, or certainly have it facilitated and organised.
They're just trying to cook us. That's what they're trying to do now, Pete. They're trying to cook City. It's like City bad, City bad, City bad, City bad. Listen, it's quite clear. Again, I said it so many times. This arbitration that we're going to is not that deep. City are basically saying we don't think this rule is lawful. If it's not lawful, it will get taken out. And that's a good thing because we shouldn't have, I don't know if this is controversial, but we shouldn't have rules in the Premier League which aren't lawful. If it is lawful, it'll stay in. City lose, we move on. I don't see why everyone's losing the shit over it. It's because City are finally challenging the Premier League. They're finally challenging the status quo. They're not just sitting here saying, we're just going to take everything that you're sending at us. If you want to send at us, we're going to send back at you. You think we've done all this? Well, by the way, we think these rules are BS, so we're going to challenge you. You can't have your cake and eat it. You can't be this ruler and dictator where you can go around smacking teams down like City, smacking teams down like Villa and Newcastle and all this sort of shit. Say, oh, you can't do this, you can do this, and then not expect a team to fight back if they genuinely feel that something's not right. It's just absolutely ridiculous, man. I hope we wipe the floor with it. I'm not even asked about the rules, to be honest with you. I couldn't care less. My team just won 4-peat. You know what I mean? It's clearly not affecting my club that much. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I want to win just because I want the Premier League to lose the case. You know what I mean? And I think you've got a lot of other fans like that who are not even City fans. I think you've got a lot of Everton fans. A lot of Everton fans, by the way, might not even like City, might not even like what we're doing. They might think that we've cheated. Whether we have or not, we'll find out in due course. But they'll probably look at this thinking, well, they've screwed us, the Premier League, with these charges, with the points deduction. Yeah, I hope they lose. And again, it's creating this. What side are you on? It's creating two tiers. You're either on the City side or you're on the Premier League side. And it's becoming very, very sort of just fractious between fan bases. You can't say anything reasonable now because even if it is proper, sound and reasonable, then people will just say that you're not reasonable, even though it is very reasonable. Like I just said then, if the rule is found to be unlawful in English law, it should be removed. You know how many people say, nah, we should keep it? So so we just got laws and it literally doesn't adhere to the laws and you just say we should keep it because they hate City that much. They think they should keep a rule. It's just ridiculous, bro. It really is. And this whole thing's a mess. And people should have predicted this because when you bring in rules like financial fair play, like that, when that was brought in and you stop teams from being able to do day-to-day business things, which is invest in your business, there's always going to be consequences. Yeah. So they can't complain about it. This was always the end goal. Now, whether this is the end situation, maybe this is just the start. Are we going to get this year after year after year? We're going to get legal cases all the time, or is this the end after this trial this week or next week? And after 115, is that done? Or is this just a start, Pete? Who knows? We don't know.
I think it has to be for the benefit of football in this country. It has to be the start of it. And you know, I can't stress enough. Man City need to win this. You know, if we want football back the way it was, where everyone's got an opportunity to compete, everyone's got an opportunity to win. It's not about the influence of certain teams at the top. If we want to get away from all of that and get back to a competitive league year upon year, what we've had the last 2 years and continue and more, Man City need to win. This rule, associated party needs to be completely scrapped and moved out and give everyone a fair opportunity. As I said before, there should be an element in there to protect the club, that if a club wants to really go for it and there's a financial difficulty or something happens, have some protection there. Protection to the club so the club doesn't go under. But if a club wants to go for it and they've got the financial backing to do so, they're under no debt, like us, like you, got no debt. We've got the backing behind us. They want to put their money into the club and to the into the region and the city. Then why not? This is it goes back to the point. Why not? Because so many others in other countries have been allowed to do exactly the same, and have reaped the rewards off the back of it, because you've got an entertaining, competitive league, and you've got an opportunity to win something. And this is what we want as fans. We want to be. We're not expecting to win every year, but we want to be in a position where we think we can.
Yeah, I agree.
Cup, Carabao Cup, FA Cup, Champions League, Premier League, whatever it is, the opportunity to win something. Because there's a lot of teams now, and even us with the takeover, we feel like we're never quite ever going to get there. But it's a joke. It really, really is.
Yeah, and the thing is as well, City apparently in this arbitration thing, City are not even saying they want the whole FFP removed. They're just saying they want certain aspects of it removed. Like, they know we're not going to go back. People in the chat like Leighton, bro, City are not saying they want to be able to spend £1 billion a year and everyone just go, that's fine. They know we're not going back to the days pre-2010, pre-2011 where you can just spend whatever you want. There's going to be controls, but the controls are way too restrictive. This associated party stuff they're saying is unlawful and not right. Yeah, we're not going back to the days where you can spend £1 billion. And personally, I don't know what I want, yeah, but I don't think you should be able to spend £1 billion in one transfer window. I don't think you should be able to do that. But I do think, as Pete says, you should be able to invest in your team. The one thing I would certainly say, your club certainly shouldn't having to be selling its best players just to adhere to the rules. Yeah. That is, anyone that supports that is anti-competitive. You want to talk about anti-competitive? That's anti-competitive. Do you support Newcastle needing to sell Isak or Bruno? Do you support Aston Villa needing to sell Douglas Luiz or Ollie Watkins? If you support that, then you're anti-competitive. You are. You're a mutant and you're anti-competitive if you think that's right. There's no way, no one is ever convincing me that that is fair. No chance in hell am I accepting that a club should have to sell its best players to meet some stupid rule.
It's a joke. It's an absolute joke, especially when you've got the players that are genuinely happy at the club that they're playing at, and they're settled and they want to play at that club, but are almost being kind of like shoved out because the club need the money in order to continue spending, which every club needs to do. No club sits still. You always have to keep spending and keep building. And in order for us to do that, we have to sell our best player. We're just going then back to square one again, which is what the top teams want. And this is the frustration around all of it. But June 10th can't come quick enough for me. I know it's going to be a 2-week process. The one thing I don't want is the Premier League to draw this out, because it could. I did hear somewhere that, I think it might have been on Sky, that there is a potential that if it doesn't go the way the Premier League want, that they can then kick it into court, apparently, which then could prolong the.
I don't think they can. I think the Premier League rules say you can't take it any further. I believe maybe now if the Premier League lose, maybe they have the right to do it. I don't know, but I was under the impression that this is it. Once it's gone to arbitration, that's it. This is quite interesting. How true it is, don't know. But Tommy's saying Arsenal are responsible for leaking the details of the upcoming case against the Premier League. Coincides with the director of football, Edu, having a pop at City last week. Who knows who leaked it? Why you leak it? I don't particularly know. I don't think it helps anyone. And of course, if City win the case, then it certainly doesn't help anyone, and it just makes the Premier League look even worse, to be honest with you. So
the question I'm asking off that is, if that is the case, and we don't know for sure, if that is the case, and how has he got that information? How has he been given that information, and
Who?
how has that been allowed to like Edu? You mentioned
Because I would imagine, bro, that if a club is because remember the Premier League is run by its members. So if a member is taking the Premier League to an arbitration, the Premier League has to, I would imagine, have to tell every club in the Premier League, by the way, the Premier League is at risk here because we're being taken to arbitration by one of its own members. It's kind of weird because you are sort of suing yourself, or you're challenging the you know the sort of the author of the club, which is the Premier League. So that's how they know. But this was out in February. This came out in February that the club there was a club that was challenging, and at the time everyone thought it was going to be Newcastle because obviously the rule was basically brought in to stop Newcastle. Everyone thought, oh, this is going to be Newcastle. Turns out it's not Newcastle. Turns out it's City. But obviously, as we spoke about today, guys, Newcastle, Chelsea, and Everton. We've not really spoken too much about Everton, but yeah, Newcastle, Chelsea, and Everton are all apparently backing this City thing. So
I'm surprised that Forest aren't in that as well, because Forest have been hard done by. They've had points.
Well, they might be. It might, they might just not be, saying, yeah, we're supporting City. They might be supporting City, but not fully supporting us in terms of like they're willing to get out there. I think Everton and Newcastle clearly, I think, are willing, and obviously at Chelsea are clearly willing to say, yeah, we're supporting City because Everton don't like the Premier League anymore. They don't like Richard Masters.
It's just come out a piece from a reporter of Newcastle, Luke Edwards. Newcastle are reluctant to join City in the fight against the Premier League. That's what he's just reported literally in the last couple of minutes. Now, I can understand that, but it goes back to the points that I've said. I think they would want to support City. I think they would be maybe behind the scenes supporting City in terms of documents and things from what they know. But I think it would probably be more publicly supporting. Like you just
again,
case there.
The Saudis don't want to start burning bridges with all the Premier League clubs and the guys running the Premier League when they've only just came in. The City bridges are already burnt. Hence why before I told you about the fact that City are probably not that bothered about their image because their image is already tainted. How many times do people say your image is tainted? No one respects Manchester City. Well, that's why we're probably doing this thing then, because again, we've got nothing to save because no one respects us or likes our image anyway. So you might as well take the Premier League to an arbitration if we think that something's wrong. Because our stocks are already so low anyway. So what's the point? We might as well do it. If we think something's wrong, we know we're going to get backlash, but who cares anyway? We've got 115 charges against us. We might as well do it. Whereas Newcastle, they don't really want to do it. I imagine though, Newcastle, the guys running Newcastle and the guys running Manchester City are very, very close to each other. You know what I mean? Obviously from the same area, from the same region. I think the Saudis obviously running the show will be experiencing, clearly are already experiencing some problems that Manchester City have experienced over the years in terms of these FFP, and there's no doubt in my mind that those guys will be speaking. No doubt in my mind at all.
Amanda Staveley is the link between that because Amanda Staveley helped, I think, facilitate the Man City takeover.
Correct.
Way back when, as well as that, as soon as our takeover happened, I think we talked about it before. Amanda Staveley has spent quite a bit of time at City looking at their infrastructure, the stadium, training ground, all that sort of stuff, which we're looking to develop. It might take a while for all those things to kind of manifest and create itself, but there's no doubt that there's a link there. Amanda Staveley will be that link, that 110%, and they'll be talking. There's no doubt about it. And look, regardless of whether we publicly come forward or not, we will be in support, just as the fans are openly in support of Man City on this case. They'll be supporting that 100%.
Before we wrap up, I've got a question for you. But Tinsei says Sheikh gonna sell 115 gallons of salt per minute. Mate, it's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy. The salty tears are mad. They really are. Before we wrap up, bro, what do you think? Do you think? Because I don't think we're ever gonna get back to a world in which there are literally no regulations. That's obviously not happening, right? There's gonna be some sort of like financial restrictions. What would your proposal be for a financial? Like, what would your FFP be? If the Premier League come to you, Pete, say, Pete, we're not scrapping it. We're having an FFP. We want you to make the FFP, design it. What would you say your FFP idea would be?
I don't know if I'd have an FFP, a financial fair play. What I think the only thing that I would have is a safe play to protect the club from a financial ruin and a bury, for example, where they go out of existence. We don't want that for any club. We want that club to still exist. So as long as they're protected financially and that they're not going to go bust or go under.
So how would you do that?
There's been.
I've said there should be an escrow account.
Yeah, there's a couple of people that have mentioned by having sort of a, if you've got a big owner that comes in and wants to buy the club, whatever club it is, you have a certain amount of money aside. Say, for example, you've got enough money there to keep that club ticking over for like a year, 18 months.
Mm-hmm.
You put that aside, and that's there for a safe mate, just in case something goes wrong. And you've got that. That gives you enough time to potentially find a new owner if you need to. It means that the club can still run and tick over, and the players will still get paid, and the staff and all the rest of it. That there protects the club for that period of time. It allows for a process to happen. But in terms of an FFP, in terms of spending and being able to push your club to be successful, I wouldn't have anything there, because that's down to the owner. If the owner has the money, why not? Why not allow that process?
Yeah, I think 100% there should be money in an escrow account, has to go into the side. You've got to give clubs an adequate amount of time to put the money in that account, because they're not going to be able to do it overnight. Yeah, they're not going to be able to, because some of these clubs are spending 100, 150, 200, 250. In the cases of City, Arsenal, Liverpool, United, these clubs are spending like £400 million on operating expenses every year. So you're not going to be able to do it every night. You might actually give them a decade, but then once the money's there, maybe you have it plus 10%, so it definitely covers it. Maybe you increase it every year with inflation. You have to keep on topping it up. But then you're right. If an owner decides, I'm not bothered anymore, you've got that money in the escrow account. As to should there be any financial restrictions, should you be able to spend whatever you want? Listen, I don't think a club should be able to spend £1 billion in one transfer window, personally. But then you say, well, what do you think that number should be? And then I come back to you and say, I don't know. And I know people in the chat who are like, trying to just murk us or say, you don't even know. No, I don't know. If that's a mad thing, me saying I don't know what the restriction should be, I don't know. Should it be 500? Should it be 250? No, I don't know what it should be. But all I'm saying is, my opinion is, I don't think you should be able to spend £1 billion in a single transfer window, just regardless of how much you're worth. But what the number is or how you implement that, I don't know. And the point is, it's not easy. It's not an easy solution to implement. And what they have implemented hasn't been good. Hence why it's changed about 5 times in the last 10 years already.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
There needs to be a way to bring down the inflation of the transfer fees. Neymar changed the game for world football in terms of transfer fees. It's never really recovered off the back of that. But there needs to be a way. I've said that there shouldn't be a sort of an FFP model in such to stop people spending, but a cap on how much they're allowed to spend in a window. Having seen what Chelsea have done is crazy, because what Chelsea did, all they did is just inflate the market even more so. The likes of Mudryk, Enzo being over 100 million, neither are worth that. Close to 100 million, or Enzo, I think, was 105 or 110, whatever it was. Like neither are worth that, and it's just completely disfigured the market. So we need to bring that down in some way, shape, or form. How we do that, I'm not quite sure, but a club should be able to invest their money into the club as much as they want. That's the key. But protecting the club and its future is also equally important.
Facts. Listen, guys, we'll wrap it up there, man. Over 450 people of you guys are tuned in. Make sure you guys have smashed the likes. Make sure you guys are subscribed as well. This is the second channel, so I've got to make sure you are double check that you subscribe to this channel. We're on a road to 5K, man. If we can get to 5K subs, I'll be absolutely buzzing. So please make sure you check. Make sure you drop a like in. Of course, if you're watching back on replay, then leave your comments down below. You can find Pete Unloaded Mag Obviously giving his takes on Newcastle sort of stuff, but I'm sure over the next days and weeks he'll be having a lot of conversations about this financial stuff. So it could be interesting watching their sort of take on it.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow we'll be doing a show. We'll be doing transfer shows all over the summer. So we'll be talking Bruno and various other Newcastle transfers and others. In fact, talking Paqueta and various other things. But we'll be definitely discussing this in a bit more detail tomorrow night. So check that one out.
Mm-hmm. Cool, guys. I've got another stream in 50 minutes. I'm back on the main channel. I'm on with Sai. We're not speaking about law. We're not speaking about court. We're going to speak about football. Yeah. So if you like football, if you're a fan of the sport football, yeah, where it's 22 guys on a pitch kicking a ball around, then that is the show for you. Join me 8:30. Myself and Sai are on there speaking about some transfer stuff, speaking about whatever. Join me on the main channel. But in the meantime, I'll catch you later. Catch you in the next one. Peace out.